Number 4, how do you find the methods? Do you see a direction someone took and you enhance it, or just get an idea in the head, aka firing lightning bolt out of your ass? It is hard to get results based on assumptions here in the SEO world. Results come over after weeks or months. Yeah, that's all right. So originally, you know, I studied through teachers, and you know, just like Semantic Mastery, I studied under several people. The most influential person on my career as a local SEO was Ivan Budimir. He used to be part of Maps Magic. He was with Michael Taggart, or Michael X, as people know him. They had a program way back in like 2010 through, I think, 2013 called Maps Magic. So I got a lot of my experience through them, and then Network Empire, and you know, I became a student of Network Empire and a student of all the best SEOs out there that were teaching stuff. I became a student of all of them, and I pretty much developed my own flavor, right? And that's why I used to always call it my own flavor of SEO, because I would mix and match bits and pieces of what I had learned, and I would test things. And that's the key, BB. You know, and that's part of what we do at Semantic Mastery is we test stuff all the time. Marco and Rob, especially, even more so than I do now. They test stuff all the time. Wherever they come up with an idea, they test it and test it and test it. And once they were able to achieve a result and duplicate the result so that it's and they know that it's repeatable, then that's when we develop training around it. And that's essentially what I've done over my career too, is I started learning from others, and then I would, you know, come up with my own ideas or figure out ways to mix and match things that I learned from others, and then test. I would always test theories. And once I was able to achieve results and repeat those results so that they were duplicatable results, then I would start incorporating that into client work, for example. And ultimately we would create training products from it. And that's where Semantic Mastery came from, is because all of us have our own marketing agencies or marketing businesses outside of Semantic Mastery. So we all have to produce and perform for our clients. And therefore, everything that we do has to be tried and true and tested. And so we test things first. Once we figure out that they do work and that they're repeatable, then we start applying them to our own clients, and we all, or our own projects and clients' projects. And then we also eventually, for most everything that we do, we end up teaching you guys via, you know, forums like this or through our training programs. So that's how I do it. Marco, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, when I started out, I just read everything I could about SEO, no matter what it was, good, bad, indifferent. And then I went and tested it. And I had my first test was actually a client. It's how I got into SEO. I didn't know what SEO was. I didn't know what it stood for. SEO. As a matter, when I first read it, it was SEO. And then I heard that it was pronounced SEO, and that it stood for search engine optimization. So what is this thing? I didn't know what an anchor text was. I didn't know what a hyperlink was. Well, yeah, I did, from having a coding background. But a lot of the things were just, I didn't know. So I just learned as much as I could, and then I just started applying the methods, discarded the ones that didn't work, the ones that worked. I always wanted to see if there was something better, which is how I came across Dr. Gary and I, how we got into Drive Stacks and G Sites and pushing the power from that. Our Rank Your Shit Academy Reloaded, or Rank Your Shit Academy, the original one. It was just, it was developed from a conversation I had with someone in right before Thanksgiving 2014. And here we are, almost 6 years later after that conversation, and it's still alive and well. So they have to work with foundational principles of the web, whatever it is that you're doing. And then you develop on those foundational principles. You look at where Google is going, and you try to catch Google at the pass, as I say, meet Google at the pass, cut them off, and then try to get ahead again, try to get ahead of the curve. That's how I do. My brand of SEO now is I try to develop our own shit and our own systems and our own processes. But it's not something that we've developed everything ourselves. I can't say that, because it's Syndication Academy. It's the ad ID, the entity-based SEO. We employ Jeffrey Smith's siloing method and his market research strategy. So there's a lot of things involved in this. It's not just one thing. Yeah, you do catch that lightning bolt where you say, aha, I got this. But there are other times where you just have to develop things that other people have put out there, and you just have to wonder, can this be improved? Can this be made better? Can it be made stronger? Can I push more power? And you test and you figure it out. But you don't start doing that until you're making money, man. I keep telling you, make some money first. Make that money, make that scratch, then go.
Well, and that's, you know, that's how I got started in SEO. Was I started setting up, you know, test projects, and it was for local stuff because I was trying to learn how to generate leads for my own electrical company, my electrical contracting business, way back in, you know, 2010. And but I was trying to test different methods from learning from different, you know, teachers. And so I'd set up multiple projects. The first three, I set up my own website for electrical work, and then I set up a carpet cleaning site and a locksmith site. And you know, it was carpet cleaning Alexandria, VA. I use exact match domains and everything else. And anyways, long story short is I just started testing on different projects that were set up with, and I wasn't making money at the time from it. I was just learning. But once the project started, like I started to get results from them and I started ranking, and I got all three of them ranked to #1. And at the time, Google Maps was a 7-pack. It was a long time ago, but I got all three, my own business plus the other two that I just set up as like dummy accounts were set up. They all got ranked to #1, and I started receiving a shit ton of phone calls. And that's where I went out and monetized them by contacting carpet cleaning contractors in Alexandria, Virginia, and just started pitching, you know, hey, I got this asset that's generating, you know, 30 calls a week on average. And, you know, I'll rent it to you for $250, like flat fee per month. You know, it was ridiculous how low I would sell stuff back then. But my point was, that's where I learned how to like start experimenting on things. And as Marco said, you know, don't do a bunch of experimenting until you're making money. Well, when you start out, you really don't have any choice, right? You just got to keep at it until you start making money. But what I'm saying is now, even now to this day, I'll set up assets. If I want to test something, I'll set up an asset that I'll have the intention of monetizing if it's successful, if the test is successful. Meaning, like, there's no sense if you're going to spend the time setting up a test for, you know, a project for a test, then make sure it's something that's going to be monetizable if it's successful, whether it's for affiliate stuff or for local or whatever. And that's, you know, kind of what, to follow up with what Marco was saying was, you know, we come up with our own original ideas, but a lot of the times they are a blend of ideas that were seeded from other people, right? So for example, right now, like I don't want to do any more client work if I don't have to. If I get, and BB, one of your follow-up questions here is about Virginia SEO, and if it's not a tree service contractor, do I take them? No, actually right now, if anybody comes to me that's not a tree service contractor looking for the traditional, you know, client relation, I won't work with them, period. I just flat out won't do it. If it is a tree service contractor and they're coming to me and they want me to work on their presence, so again, a client agency relationship, I will still quote them, but I quote them on a higher end than I would have, you know, even a year ago, because I don't want to do any more client work. I want to stick to just lead generation. And why is that? Well, because a couple of months ago, I happened to, I'm on Network Empire's emailing list because I use their digital marketers toolbox for keyword research sometimes. And anyways, I had gotten an invitation from, you know, I was just on their mailing list for a webinar from Mike Martin. Well, Mike Martin teaches lead generation and what he calls a hybrid lead generation model. And I went through his webinar, and he's got this really cool app called Lead Simplify for those of you doing lead generation business. It's a great app. It's very inexpensive. It's called Lead Simplify. And it's really, really, really good for being able to route leads to multiple contractors and all that kind of stuff. It's a really cool system. It's very inexpensive. And so when I went through his webinar, like, it sparked the idea on me. I got my start in this business doing lead generation. And I have moved into doing consulting and agency type work over the years. I've always kept my lead generation business, but I got to be honest with you, working with clients is a pain in the ass. It's almost like having a boss. You know what I mean? Like, because you have to answer to clients all the time. And as we talk about throughout all of our training, you know, it's better to cherry pick clients if you're going to work with clients. Get the higher end ones, the ones that aren't going to be, you know, annoying, like bugging you all the time every time they see their site or their maps ranking drop one spot. They call you up like, what the hell's going on? Those really types of needy clients will drain you. They'll suck the soul right out of you. Trust me. So I've got a handful of clients that I've kept for many years now. I very rarely take on any new clients because right now I'm working on developing my lead generation business out. And so again, that was just from an idea that I got from Mike Martin, that like he seeded that idea. In other words, he planted the seed, and it made me think over the course of a few weeks. It just grew. That idea grew in my head as to what I wanted to do for my own lead generation business. And again, so it's just a matter of, keeping your eyes open, being plugged into the industry, and then, trying to consume, be a consumer of information. And then you have to just kind of mix and match whatever you think works or is best for your own type of business model. And then just start testing. And whenever eventually, sometimes you'll just figure things out. That's what we've always done. You just find something that just, boom, it works. And it's like, okay, wow, that was amazing. Let me try that again. And if you can do it again and do it again and do it again, then now you have something that is a repeatable process. So, by the way, Hernan or Adam, or any of you guys want to talk about? I mean, I thought that was a fantastic question. What do you guys do? Because you guys aren't necessarily SEO people. You guys do more like, I know Hernan does a bunch of ad stuff. Hernan, if you're still listening, can you jump in and comment on what you do to figure out how you do things for your business? Do you accidentally, okay, we already covered that. Good to know the way you will start a lead gen business from scratch. Well, I mean, I can tell you what I'm doing now, but if you're not, you have to be really, 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 you have to know a lot about the industry. Like, again, I only stick with tree service contractors now. I don't want to work with anybody else. And I've been touting that for years, niching down. I know some of my partners, even Marco, has a different opinion than I do on this. But for me, all I want to work with is tree service contractors, because I know that industry so damn well. I've done all the keyword research I could ever need to do. I've developed all the creatives I could ever. So it's less work for me to be able to scale my tree service lead gen business than it is to do anything else. And so for me, what I'm working on right now, and I'm going to be teaching about this at PoFu Live, so I'll just give you kind of a conceptual idea of what it is that I'm doing. But right now, what I'm doing is I've got AdWords, Google Ads campaigns that I can, I've got that really dialed in really, really well. And right now, even with a couple of the test cities that I've plugged this system into, to start with, I might end up with like an average cost per conversion of something around maybe $85 or $90, which seems high. But if I can take a ClickFunnels landing page that I've set up, that I've optimized really, really well through other Google Ads campaigns for tree service contractors. So I've got a template, right? A duplicatable template that I know works, that I know converts well. I've got AdWords or Google Ads campaigns that I've set up for search campaigns that I know what I call bullseye keywords. So alpha campaign structure, they're exact match campaign, exact match type keywords that I know absolutely produce traffic, and it will, relevant traffic that will ultimately, a percentage of them will convert into leads. And so I can go into a city and start a Google Ads campaign with a landing page that has just been slightly modified and optimized for that particular location with basically a dummy company. I can set it up a Google Ads campaign for tree service contractors in a new city, and I can spend $1,000. I can put $1,000 of my own money in ad spend and generate leads in that city. And now I have leads available for that particular location, and I can go prospect for tree service contractors as lead buyers, right? I can prospect to them, say like, hey, I've got leads for sale right now. I can plug them into my Lead Simplify system that I got from Mike Martin. I just talked about that. And I can turn around and start selling those leads. So the investment, you're going to invest on any sort of project up front anyway. So right now what I'm doing is I'm investing using Google Ad spend into a city to get the initial leads in. And then I can prospect to tree contractors in that particular city. And once I get 3 or so lead buyers into the system, and what I'm doing the Home Advisor model in that I generate the lead and then turn around and sell it 3 times. So if I'm selling a tree removal lead for say $40 and I can generate that lead for say $90, then I'm making 120, right? So a $30 profit. That's not a lot of money to make on a lead. I understand that, but it's profitable right off the bat. And then once I have established a good working relationship with a few of those lead buyers in that area, then I can start investing in, traditional SEO assets so that I can start reducing my ad spend, but my purchase lead amount for, $120, right? For a tree removal lead, for example, that's going to always remain at that level, right? I'm still going to always be able to sell that same lead to 3 contractors at $40 each, so $120. So once I've established a good relationship where I've got 3 contractors that are paying me on a regular basis, then I can invest some time and effort and money into developing traditional SEO based assets so that I can start lowering my ad spend and increasing my return on investment for every lead generated. Does that make sense? And so again, for me, there's no reason for me to go outside of any other industry right now, because there are 30,000 cities in the United States. And if I do this, 1 per month, for example, at the end, then at the end of a year, I'm going to have another 12 cities locked up for my lead gen business. So that's what I do. Like now, in the past, it's always just been SEO, but because I switched my model around slightly, and again, Mike Martin planted the seed for me to start selling leads like Home Advisor. I've always sold leads with exclusivity. In other words, I would just sell the lead to one person, and it wasn't, or one contractor, and it wasn't cost effective for me to generate that lead through Google Ads and then resell it, because most of the time what I would sell the lead for wouldn't cover the cost per conversion or cost per acquisition to generate that lead from Google Ads, from search ads. So, it was just, I will always do SEO stuff, but there's too many companies out there that sell, like Home Advisor and Thumbtack and these other types of lead type companies that do that will sell leads to 3, 4, or 5 contractors, and they have shitty quality of leads. The quality of leads that I generate now are so much better, and they're pre-screened. They go through my call center and everything else, and so I can sell them for a good price to 3 contractors and make very good money on leads. And there's no reason for me to go start with SEO stuff that takes months for me to get it, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it takes to get it to where it's producing, where I can go in and in 2 weeks time, I can set up a Google Ads campaign and generate leads with $1,000 in ad spend. And in about 2 weeks, I can have multiple leads in my pipeline that I will then use for prospecting purposes, and then get new lead buyers into my business. And so that's currently what I'm working on. And that's precisely what I'm going to be teaching about at POFU Live, and how all of this works. So BB, that's be another good reason for you to get into POFU Live.
Yeah,
right.
I have a different approach, right? And I like how Jordan put it, how he pitches to his clients, because he has an agency and he just produces results. And what he says, he tells his clients is, I know Google. I don't need to know your niche. I know Google. And if I know Google, I can get you results. That's always been my approach. Like, I could care less about the niche. I want to know how much money it can make to see if it's worth my time. That's how I approach it. From that standpoint, because I know, especially now that we've developed the keyword training, the deep keyword research, and everything that we do, like, everything is handed off. I don't have to know the niche. Go and study it. Go get me the keywords. I go into Search Console. I go into the analytics. That's going to give me what pages I'm going to need to work on. That's going to tell me the keywords that are getting impressions, the pages that it's going to. It's going to get all of the information that I need is there, since I'm targeting Google. And I just feel that doing that, like, you can pick and choose. And really, the revenue that you can make off of this, and the clients who are available are more, it's a higher end client. And there's just a lot more money available. And then as long as you're willing to invest in getting that client results, it has to be results-based SEO, of course. But as long as you're getting results, that client is going to pay you. And you eventually get to the point where you can name your price. And the person pays it, or you do, I don't need you, you need me.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's all your own personal preference. I prefer to just stick with the one type of contractor now, because, for 10 years, I've been working in that, since 2012. So 8 years I've been working in the tree service industry. And, I've worked with multiple other types of contractors over the years. And to be honest, tree service is just really lucrative, especially for lead gen. And for me, it's, I just don't want to do client work anymore. I honestly don't, because to me, I love the fact that they're my own assets that I'm building. And that if anybody, I don't have to worry about if Google changes something and my assets stop producing as well, I don't have to answer to a client, right? It's just, if a lead buyer calls and says, hey, there's no leads coming out. Yeah, I know, I'm working on it. I'll get you some more leads here soon. Don't worry about it. That's it. That's the only thing that has to be said. When it comes to a client though, then there's often issues dealing with that. So that's just my own personal preference. I just really, I just took a new client on about 2.5 weeks ago because I quoted them sent them a proposal way back in February of this year. And it was a really long sales cycle, but they finally took me up on my proposal about 2.5 weeks ago. It's a tree service contractor and landscaping contractor in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So, you know, I do still take on clients if they meet the right, you know, criteria. But it's very, very rare that I do that anymore. And I really I'm not looking to take on more clients because I'd rather just scale my lead gen business. That's mine. I own it. And I like doing that better. So